She's April.
And she's Molly.
And we are
the Book Besties.
We're never going to get anywhere. It's just going to be an all episode. It's 2 hours of Bell.
When in doubt, go to the library.
This is becoming Why We Hate Dumbledore episode.
I mean, again, nobody should be letting Dumbledore make decisions. I honestly think that J.K. Rowling isn't clever enough to come up with something that has to do with witches and wizards that isn't Halloween.
Great catch. Gold stars. Boom, boom. If I had two, I'd give them to you.
My favorite is the old man in the dress who's like, I have to breathe down there.
And vampires don't have sperm. All the women go, ooh. I'm a knife hand, y'all. Get your shit together. Hi. Do you like my fancy sweater for today?
It's a lie.
I'm hot. Hold on, let me take it off. It's not a lie.
You are not a Hufflepuff. You are a Slytherin and Hufflepuff sweaters.
God. Okay, first and foremost, we had this. I don't know how many times, besties, we've had this argument.
Yes, we've had this argument a lot.
A lot. I can have Slytherin features without being a Slytherin. And the honey badger, which is the Hufflepuff symbol, is one of the feistiest and angriest animals in the fucking world.
Have you actually taken the quiz on Pottermore?
Yes!
And it says you're
100%?
No. Lies, Fables, and Fallacies by Molly Biggs.
Besties, you have to support me here. Back me up. Tell her Hufflepuffs are not just like cookie making, like lovey-dovey folks. Some of them are assholes. I'm gonna fucking get my wand out, man. Like
I don't think that all Hufflepuffs are like sunshine and rainbows. However, they're generally people that wouldn't be like, I'm gonna go start shit. But you are one of those people that would be like, listen, besties, if you all could see the epic text message group chat we have going with Nurse Katie, in which it basically looks like a Ravenclaw, a Hufflepuff, and a Slytherin walked into a text message chain. Like, that's what it looks like. Like, Nurse Katie will text us something, and Molly will be like, well, I'll fight him. And I'm like, how can we talk this out logically? Like, it's...
No, I say fuck them motherfuckers, always. I'm just jaded by the world, it's fine.
You're not a Hufflepuff, but whatever. I guess we should probably tell them what the book we're talking about, but I did take the Pottermore quiz, and I am a Ravenclaw, even though,
This week, we are covering books 1 through 4 today of Harry Potter series. We will be starting with The Sorcerer's Stone. Then we'll go into Chamber of Secrets. And then after that, it's Prisoner of Azkaban. And then my favorite book and movie, Goblet of Fire.
Okay.
So
we're actually doing 2 Harry Potter episodes. So this is the first one. Next week, you'll get part 2, where we'll do books 5 through 7.
Which is going to be a little bit longer, because those books are fucking intense.
They're needlessly long. But anyway, so we had some fans ask us to do more than one episode of Harry Potter, and it's sort of been, if you've been following our podcast from the beginning, you know that there's a very controversial point of view from me that I am not a Harry Potter fan, and I had not read all of the books, but now I have. I have read all of the books and seen all of the movies, and I am still not a Harry Potter fan. But I did it! I fucking did it! No one again is allowed to tell me that I didn't give it a chance. I fucking did, and didn't like them.
Nestle Nope would say, you've watched all 7 movies. How do you not like Harry Potter?
That's insane. You've seen all 7 movies. Or it's 8 movies.
8 movies.
All
whatever.
8 movies.
JK.
No.
All right. So, before we dive into my questions, I have a PSA and a quick synopsis for the fans. Besties, y'all. We're covering 7 books in 2 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
A lot happens in each book, a lot. Mm-hmm. So I really kept my questions, as short as I possibly could, for each book because we're trying to fit so much in. So I'm not going to be able to cover the whole book. I'm not going to be able to talk about every plot point. I'm not going to be able to talk about I'm not going to be able to ask questions about every single thing.
Thank God.
So if you have issues with me not covering something or you have questions for us, comment on any of our social media posts about Harry Potter. Email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Make a reel and tag us or TikTok.
Yeah. Right.
We will be more than happy to answer your questions. But please know, us omitting something doesn't mean it wasn't important in the storyline. It's just not what we're focusing on for this episode.
Yeah. And I mean, we will respond. If you contact us through social media or through our Gmail, we will answer the questions. We won't just like leave you high and dry. We will answer them. We just can't we can't devote 7 episodes to the series because first of all,
there's so many books we want to read.
And second of all, so that could be our first of all, but second of all, I frankly cannot stand to do that. I need this to not be a part of my life anymore.
We are cleansing your soul with these episodes.
I'm going to close this chapter after we film these. And unless one of my kids makes me read Harry Potter again, I will not.
I highly doubt that. So the first book was released in January 1998 here in the States. And the last book was released in 2007. And they I can't say it. Sequentially, there's the word I'm looking for. Sequentially released mostly a year after each other.
Was that the case for the first going into the second? Like, would she release the first one in the UK? Did she release Chamber of Secrets a year later in the UK?
So Philosopher's Stone was released in 97 in the UK in June, and then it released in January in 98 of 98 here in the States. And also, fun fact, Philosopher's Stone is also called the Sorcerer's Stone, depending on your copy. The British copy says Sorcerer's Stone, or Philosopher's Stone, and the American says Sorcerer's Stone.
Do you know why? I know why.
Okay, I'd love to hear why.
So I read the first Harry Potter in children's lit class when I was a junior in college. So fall of 2002.
Okay.
It is because when they went to print the American, they went to print in America, the publishing company was really concerned that people wouldn't know what a Philosopher's Stone was. So they just changed it to Sorcerer's Stone because they just figured we wouldn't know what it was.
But if you read the books, you'd figure it out real fast.
You would. I mean, none of this was real, so they could have called it whatever the fuck they wanted.
Right.
It could have been Harry Potter and all
the Pizza of Stones. Yeah, like.
Right. It doesn't matter. But it also did not get a big following right away. Like, it honestly sat on shelves and wasn't, like, really popular for some time.
Right.
In both the UK and the US. Now, obviously, it has an astronomical following. I mean, arguably one of the largest fandoms in the world.
I would think so, yeah. There's quite a few. I mean, Star Wars, Star Trek, those.
Yeah, but I feel like Star Wars and Star Trek, their followings are more on the movies and the TV show, and not so much the books that are based on the series.
Right.
So this is really.
I mean, this series did get a generation of kids to read.
And that is the only reason why I support this series.
Wow.
The rest of it, I support this series because it can get a 3rd grader to read a 700-page book.
Yeah.
I just wish that 700-page book was like, one storyline instead of riddled with plot holes and like all over the fucking place.
I kind of like that about the book, but I'm ADHD, so I'm all over the fucking place. So, a quick synopsis. If you've lived under a rock and you don't know what the fuck I'm talking about, I don't know how to help you right now.
I feel like we can't help those people.
But Harry Potter's about a boy who is being treated very poorly by his aunt and uncle. They make him live under the stairs. He, on his 11th birthday, he gets a letter from Hogwarts telling him he's magical and that he goes to a school for wizards and whatnot, and like a whole bunch of shit happens, and there's a bad guy trying to get him, and that's the whole storyline in 2 sentences. You're welcome.
And also Quidditch.
Yeah, a lot of sports on broomsticks. We're never gonna get anywhere. It's just gonna be an all episode. It's 2 hours of Belle.
Look, it's not like people weren't prepared for me to hate this.
Yeah,
I've been saying it since our very first episode. This is not.
There's no surprises.
No.
So questions before we start, and then we'll jump right into Sorcerer's Stone. You saw the movies. Did you see the movies before reading the books?
I had seen the first movie after I read the first book. And I don't remember when that movie came out, but I saw it when it was on DVD. So, and it was my junior year of college. So it was fall of 2002. Fall of 2002. So I had only seen that one. The trailer for Deathly Hallows made me sort of want to watch the movies.
Yeah.
Tom had seen all the movies. He never made me watch them, so thank you for that, husband. I think it's really impressive that like the final movie literally like they had the posters literally didn't even say Harry Potter. You just fucking knew that that's what it was. Which is really, that says something like
about
how many
the fandom and the following. Yeah.
How many movies can get away with that they don't even put the name of their movie on the poster. But so yes, I watched the first movie only after I had read the first book. I had never seen any of the other movies.
I had seen movie 1 and 2 when they came out in theaters. And I was like, I thought this is really cool. I went and got the books. So I was in high school reading these books. So
there again is our age gap.
It
doesn't come into play too often that we are 4 years
apart.
4 years apart.
Spin change,
But you were in high school and I was like
in college. So we all know the reason you haven't read Harry Potter. You have no desire to fucking read these books.
Well, I mean, it's not that I don't like fantasy. It just,
J.K. Rowling bothers you. She bothers me too, but for different reasons.
She doesn't bother me the way that she bothers people in the fandom because, frankly, I don't care what her opinions are on anything because I don't care about her.
You don't. She gets 0 of your time. I get it.
I don't care.
And now you listen to the audiobooks, right?
I listened to the audiobooks for all 7 books. That's how I read them. Yeah.
What did you think of Jim Dale? He narrates all the audiobooks, friends.
He's like the champion of all audiobook narrators. I'm really glad they didn't change narrators because I've read almost all of the what's the series? The series of unfortunate events as audiobooks.
Yeah.
I've read a few of them as physical books, but I've read almost all of them as audiobooks. They change narrators.
I hate when they do that. Jasmine Gilliar, I always say her last name wrong. She does the wedding date in that series, and by book 3, she had changed narrators in book 4, and it really bugs. Like,
well, what they did is Tim Curry was narrating, phenomenal narrator for the series of unfortunate events. I mean, it was fantastic. But then they switched and had the author, Lemony Snicket, which I know is his pen name. Yeah. They had him narrate for a couple of books. And I don't know if maybe that's just the version that was available from the library and that Tim Curry has actually narrated all of the books. I'm not sure, but that bugged me. So I was glad that Jim Dale stuck around for all of the books. He very clearly has a voice for each character. I've got to be honest with you that towards the end, all of the Weasleys sort of sound the same, and so I was having
hard time differentiating
which fucking Weasley is this now.
I mean, says Molly Weasley every day of her life.
Yeah, probably.
Which fucking Weasley is it?
Which fucking Weasley are you? She
What?
never did figure out which of her twins was which.
I mean, can you blame her? She's a little busy.
Yeah. Well, she's only got one left, so I mean, I guess she could keep him track of him now.
That doesn't hurt at all. So
it hurts me, and I don't even like this the series. It's fine. The fandom's fine. Although I got to be honest, here's my issue with the Harry Potter fandom. Y'all get upset about J.K. Rowling's like
personal beliefs,
like that. Yeah, right. And I mean, I can understand not wanting to associate an author's beliefs with your beliefs, but instead of denouncing the series, what you all decided was that you own it now. And so, like, I've worked with people who are like, well, I'm a Slytherin, and this person is like such a Hufflepuff. I don't care what she says. She's not a Slytherin. And I was like,
but self-identify, thank you.
but I was like, no, I don't see that. I see that, like, you're sort of, she's like, that's not really what a Slytherin is. And I'm like, how do you, what? And she's like, well, the fandom has decided. I'm like, fucking J.K. Rowling decided. She's the billionaire with all your fucking money. You don't get to decide that you take over her care. No, that's not how this works, boo-boo. Sorry. So that's my problem with the fandom. Also, my other problem with the fandom
We're going to beg to disagree because I said so.
My other problem with the fandom is that I have to give props to Nurse Katie because she did not do this to me. When I bring up plot holes, everyone gets really defensive, where Nurse Katie was like, dude, thanks for pointing that out. Everyone gets really defensive.
Argue it. I'll be like, oh, I didn't see that.
Everyone gets really defensive. Listen, I am a huge Twilight fan. You tell me there's plot holes in Twilight, I'm like, go on. I know.
Because we love fan theories.
Pull up a chair. Let's sit down beside each other because I know Edward could not have sperm. Let's talk about it.
And vampires don't have sperm.
They absolutely do not. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. We're 16 minutes in and April's the one that's derailed us. So it's a new world order in the pod.
So we're going to start with book 1, Sorcerer's Stone. Book 1 is Harry's first year at Hogwarts.
Yep.
So let's start with the beginning. What was your favorite part of this book and least favorite part of this book? Did you have a favorite part?
So this is by far my least favorite book, and I was not inspired to continue reading because of this book. So I would say that my favorite part of this book was when Neville stood up to the trio and said, like, you can't do this. Like, you know, I liked that because I think that was like, for me, I liked that the first time I read it, even though I didn't know that like Neville was like more of a central character. Because he's not so much in the first book. I just gravitated to that instantly. I was like, yeah, this is the kind of character that like he's growing. I don't think Harry ever grew. He didn't even get taller. He just didn't grow.
One of the jokes in the fandom is Harry Potter is the fans' least favorite book in Harry Potter.
Well, I mean, that's sort of how I feel about Grey's Anatomy. Meredith Grey is my least favorite character on Grey's Anatomy. Like, she always has been.
Erica Hahn. No. Erica Hahn's my least favorite character in Grey's Anatomy.
All right, that's a good one, too.
Anyway, back to Harry Potter. So, you liked when Neville stood up. So, least favorite part of this book?
So this is my biggest complaint with this book and the reason that I didn't want to continue. So there isn't a part. This is just an overarching thing.
Okay.
If you're going to be a fantasy writer and you're going to build a world, which is essentially what you have to do in all fantasy, you have to create this world. Like she created everything. She created a sport. Yep. She created a school. She created all of it, right? She did not allow the narrative and the plot to push that world forward.
Right.
Instead, she painstakingly
paints a picture for you.
Right. And it takes so long to get to the fucking point.
Oh, see, I like
so
that.
So long to get to the fucking point.
I enjoy that. I love being painted into a scene. I don't think
she did that. I don't think she did a very good job of like actually, at least in the first book, I don't think she did a good job creating the world.
Further into the series, her writing is much better. But
that's what I mean. I was not inspired by that one to read it. So when everyone was like, well, why didn't you read the next one? Why would I?
Because you didn't like it. Yeah, that makes sense.
Why would I?
That makes sense.
I don't think she's a good writer. I mean, who am I to really judge her? I just have this podcast and she has like $1 billion. But
a whole world she's created that people have made sub genres and stories off of, and it's fucking wild.
But I'm kudos,
not... J.K. Rowling. I can't stand your stupid face, but I can't do that. Fucking can't.
So, what was your favorite and least favorite?
My favorite is when we get to Hogwarts for the first time and we walk through the Great Hall and we're going in and we get sorted, which I have a question based on this, but maybe I don't. We get sorted with Harry in all of his class. It really, that scene really made me feel like a part of that world. That was the first time I was like, oh yeah, I'm at fucking Hogwarts, man. And I have...
And you got sorted into the wrong house. Got it.
The hat would disagree with you.
Notice that she took her Hufflepuff sweater off.
Because it's fucking hot here in Texas.
Wearing a black shirt and green hair.
Look at my eyes. Look at my gorgeous eyes. My hair's not green, by the way.
You could not be more Slytherin if you tried.
We could be arguing about this for the next hour. We're gonna move on. I'm being the grown-up here and saying we're moving on. And I'm just gonna do a blanket, my least favorite part of the series, and I'm gonna go on a tirade for a second.
The series or the book?
It covers all the books, so I'm just gonna rant real quick. So, Dumbledore is a trash human being.
Oh my gosh, he's the worst. What the fuck is wrong with him?
I have a couple different questions about it, but he sets everyone up for fucking failure. He's vague. He feels...
he outright lies. He's a horrible leader.
It's me handing you my debit card, telling you you can have $100 out of my account, and not giving you the fucking PIN number. Like, why?
Yeah, he's. I agree with that. He's not my favorite. I don't know how people love him so much because I'm like, he's.
I don't get it. You know what? If you're a Dumbledore stan, yes, fucking Dumbledore. If you're a Dumbledore stan, post your defense of him on Reels and tag us.
Yeah.
Okay, so next question. What did you think of this twist on an orphan story? We fucking see it all the time. What did you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't really think it is a twist. It's still the orphan who's going to rise up and save us all. It's done. I honestly think, I had a big issue with the Dursleys in general. Behavior, I mean...
I got a question, actually, about that, if you want to jump into it.
Yeah, go ahead.
In the beginning of the book, we see how baby Harry is left with the Dursleys. Professor McGonagall watches them all day as a cat. She even warns Dumbledore about how awful a trash can of human beings they are. Right. He chooses to leave Harry with them anyways. Do you think this was a good idea?
No. Dumbledore is full of terrible ideas. He's a terrible mentor for Harry, and probably also you could make the argument for Severus. He's just not he's not great at making decisions. I don't know why everybody wanted him to be the Minister of Magic, because that would have been terrible.
He's so vague and how can someone be so dark, vague, flighty, and trustworthy at the same time? I don't get it.
Well, I just think if Hogwarts is supposed to be the safest place, why would we hide him with Muggles? You could have just put him in Hogsmeade.
Raise him at Hogwarts.
We find out in the last book that the person who's been manning the tavern, which, by the way, why the fuck did we not find out until the last book? That the person who's been manning the tavern that they've been drinking butterbeers at for 7 books is Dumbledore's brother.
Yeah.
The fuck didn't you just call him up yo, bro, I got Harry Potter. He killed Voldemort. Let's do this, bitch. You gotta raise him. I don't get it. And I understand that he's supposed to like have some sort of like protection. So when he goes back to the Dursleys, like magically Voldemort can't find him. You know what? Voldemort not only knows where the fuck he is when he's with the Dursleys, he also knows that he goes to fucking Hogwarts every fucking year. You have done zero to actually protect him. This is just a terrible idea. Terrible idea all around. Fucking Hagrid could have done a better job raising him.
I don't know. Hagrid would have accidentally sat on him as a baby.
I mean, he raised a dragon and a fucking giant. I think he could have raised Harry Potter. But anyway, I tried to read the first book with James. He wanted to read it because some of his friends at school were reading it. I thought he was still a little young because this was first grade, but it was like at the start of the pandemic. And we never even made it to Hogwarts because he couldn't handle the way the Dursleys were like treating. Awful, yeah, he couldn't handle it. I don't understand. Like that is like, so if you want to talk about like the orphan trope and things like that, it's definitely like a Cinderella story, right? Mm-hmm. He lives like Cinderella lived in the fire pit place. He lives under the stairs, very Cinderella-like, meant for greater things, you know. I just
Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah, I don't like the Dursleys. I think Dumbledore is like incompetent. Why someone needs to like take his wand? Well, that fucking happened, I guess. But yeah. He's incompetent. Also, no, I guess we could talk about that in that book. But how
we're gonna get to all these books. Let's go back to Sorcerer's Stone.
I can't. Okay.
If not, it's gonna be a really long episode.
Oh, fuck me. Okay.
So, when we get to Hogwarts, we make it through most of the first month. We get through to October, and Halloween, magically, a troll breaks in.
Right.
Halloween is also the night Harry's parents died. Halloween Halloween ends up being a key date throughout this series. Do you think JK's using it as some sort of symbolism?
I honestly think that J.K. Rowling isn't clever enough to come up with something that has to do with witches and wizards that isn't Halloween. I just don't think she's that smart. She thought, let's do Halloween because witches.
You know what? I'm going to give you a bell for that. Thank you, because I see the connection, and I don't get it. Like, if somebody knows the answer, they can more than help to email me. Fuck.
I really hope people do tag us and email us because I'm ready to fight.
So when Harry makes a Quidditch team, he gets this new broom, right?
Yeah.
And this scene reminded me, and everyone's gathered around, everyone's super excited for Harry to get this fancy new fucking broom.
Right.
And all it reminds me of is when I was in middle school and everybody was getting new starter jackets. And like those were like the big damn deal.
Right.
Did you have a similar experience growing up?
I mean, the starter jackets is probably one of them. There were like these Adidas shoes that like,
the 3 stripes?
Yeah. I was poor, so I didn't have either of them.
I had knockoff starter jacket. For sure.
No, I didn't have either. I didn't even have a knockoff. But I'm guessing, I would say that was probably close.
Yeah. So by the end of the book, we finally get to our final climax. It takes us fucking forever. The Golden Trio's racing towards what they think is Snape, and they have all these stupid challenges, which magically their school year set them up to freaking just fly through.
It was a final exam.
Right. Why did they make these challenges so simple for 11-year-olds? I have no idea. And I lost my train of thought. Why do these teachers think that it would stop the Dark Lord if 11-year-olds could get through it?
I mean, again, nobody should be letting Dumbledore make decisions.
Also, did you suspect Quirrell?
I wasn't super surprised that he was a bad guy. I don't think I suspected that he like had Voldemort attached to the back of his head, but I didn't suspect that he was like a good guy either.
Yeah.
I never really was like, oh, Snape has got to be the bad guy.
Because he's just traditionally a bad guy?
Yeah, but I also don't think Snape's a good guy. Like, I know that's, everyone's like, oh, Snape.
I don't like Snape. I don't like the redemption arc. It's a whole thing. I have issues with it, but we'll get to that when we get to that book.
Okay, so yes and no. I didn't think Quirrell was a good guy, but I also didn't know that he would, like, I didn't know that was a possibility because, you know, that was like the one original thing in this book.
Right.
He's got a person growing out of his head.
So let's talk movie versus book, okay? Mm-hmm. There was a few things, I have a list, a few things that were left out of the movie that really bothered me, and then I'd love to hear what you think. I have a favorite line from both the movie and the book that Hagrid always says, that he goes, shouldn't have told you that. It just shows the simplicity of Hagrid, and I just love it. Then the Golden Trevo saving Hagrid's ass with the dragon. Yeah. I really don't like that this was omitted from the storyline.
Yeah.
It gives, in the movie, it gives, like, Dumbledore a win because Dumbledore does it right for Hagrid, sends it off to Charlie, but it bothers me. We don't see how involved Neville is in the storyline either in the movie, which bothers me.
Right. Sorry, go ahead.
And then my final one is the Sorting Hat song. I think it's important in each book. It kind of gives us a forewarning of what is going to happen that year. So to omit it from the movies just feels rude. So what do you think?
Serves as the minstrel.
Yeah.
My favorite line is probably "You're a wizard, Harry," because that's like it's iconic,
traditional. Yeah,
you're a wizard, Harry. Hagrid's a fucking mess. So
facts. He doesn't feel like a fully mature adult. Like, he feels like a child, right?
Right.
Homeboy's on spectrum.
Right. Probably. I'm super disappointed in general how much Neville's character is diminished through all of the movies. Yeah. Like, especially given the fact that we later find out
he could have been the chosen one. Yeah.
Right. So
I want to talk about that too when we get to that.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk about that. My favorite part of any book is anything that involves Molly Weasley. The first introduction of her, where she's like wrangling children and like immediately takes Harry under her wing.
Right.
I love her. Molly Weasley is goals. And
this is her wand, BT dub.
Oh, you have her wand. Well, that makes sense because you're Molly.
Hillary got it for me when they went to Potter Worlds because Hillary loves me. Now she left me for fucking Ireland! She's closer to Hogwarts, though, there.
Molly, it's important that you know Hogwarts is not real.
In my mind, it is. That's all that matters. In my heart.
Yeah, so anything with Molly Weasley, I once saw like a meme that was like, Molly Weasley saying, I don't have a favorite child, and then it was like a picture of all the Weasleys, like really small and huge picture of Harry.
I mean, if she's gonna pick a favorite child, I think it would be Ginny, just because
I think it's Jenny. Yeah.
Ginny,
she wanted a girl so bad.
She wanted a girl so bad.
So my favorite part of this book, besides Neville standing up to them, anything that involves Molly Weasley, anything in the movie that involves her, I just love her. I think she was perfectly cast. I don't know that actress. She's British. All the actors and actresses are British in Harry Potter. That was really important to the film.
Right.
There were actually American actors that wanted to be in Harry Potter and were like declined because it was important that everybody be British, which I think is
Julia Walters. We know her also from Mamma Mia.
That's what I know her from. Fuck, I knew it was something. All right, well, she's fantastic, and she's like the perfect Molly Weasley, and I love her. And that's all I have to say about the first book and movie.
Oh, well, now we're gonna go to Chamber of Secrets.
I've read the first book 3 times now.
So Chamber of Secrets is year 2 at Hogwarts. Mm-hmm. If you don't know the storyline, there's a fucking journal and it screws everybody's life up, and then we fight a snake. Okay.
Right. Oh, I'm sorry. Can I say something about this book real quick? So,
yes.
In the first book, Jim Dale, when he's narrating, that was not me.
I hit it on accident. My bad, gang.
When Jim Dale was narrating, he refers to Voldemort as Voldemort, not Voldemort.
Mort. Right.
In the second book, and somebody would probably need to correct me on this, but in the second book, I think at that point the movie had come out or it had been read in America, and so everybody was mispronouncing Voldemort to Voldemort, and he starts calling him Voldemort after that.
Interesting.
And that kind of bothered me because the
catch.
Voldemort is actually the proper way to pronounce his name.
What a great catch.
Oh, thank you.
Great catch. Gold stars. Boom, boom. If I had 2, I'd give them to you.
Yeah, go me.
So Chamber of Secrets. We start every year in the summer, right? We start every book in the summer. We see the Weasley's house. This is my first question. The Weasley house, through Harry's eyes, is magical and spectacular. It's everything the Dursley home isn't on Privet Drive, and he falls in love instantly.
Yeah.
While Ron becomes embarrassed, he even goes, "My room's on the top," and like he blushes. Mm-hmm. Can you see this from both sides?
Oh, absolutely. I think for Harry, just being in a place where he's with his own kind is important. Like
where magic isn't dirty.
Right. I mean, the Dursleys don't want him to be himself at all.
No.
And the Dursleys' house is also very clean and put together. And, like, they have one kid. That kid's a dick. But they have one kid, right?
I mean, Dudley is a fucking asshole.
They're taking care of Harry. But I grew up in a house that was, like, ridiculously clean. And it was very important to my mom that it was, like, super clean. And I promised myself when I became an adult, I would live in my house and my kids would live in my house. Molly Weasley lets her kids live in her house.
Yep.
And so I think, like, for Harry, that was really the first time that he actually saw, that's really the first time he saw a wizarding family, right? Because his only other experience was at Hogwarts. So they're a great foil for the Dursleys, like where the Dursleys are really, like they're guarded. Right. And the Weasleys are all love. And
it's just open and warm. And
oh, for sure. And Molly mothers everybody. I mean, she took Hermione in too, you know? I mean, like, I know that, Hermione then, they both eventually become her kids essentially.
Yeah.
But she just take them back both in, which is another reason, going back to our first book, that's the other reason why I don't understand why Dumbledore didn't find a better family to raise Harry.
Did you like the way the Weasley home was described and brought to life in the books and movies?
Yes, but here's my issue. In the Chamber of Secrets, they make it sound like they live in a neighborhood, like they live close to people, but they don't. And like moving forward in other books, so this is my plot hole right here. Moving forward in other books, it makes it clear that the borough is like its own place.
Yeah, it is.
But it doesn't do that in the first book. When they're talking about throwing the gnomes over the fence, they're talking about how we got to not let the neighbors know. And I'm like, the fuck?
Denoming the yard, yeah. But that whole scene where Molly's losing her shit and she's about to tell Arthur about the car, and he's like, really? Arthur is instantly enthralled. Arthur is her complete opposite. He wants to know how it went. He has questions for Harry about the Muggle world. He needs to know all the things. He needs to know all the things.
I can absolutely 100% see why she fell for him in high school.
Yes.
In Hogwarts. Like, why she was like, yep, that's the wizard for me.
One of my favorite things in the fandom is, it pertains to Arthur. It goes, anytime you're feeling sad, remember, if you showed Arthur Weasley how to use a toaster, he would find you fascinating.
Yes, I've seen that one too.
when they were like, he was asking, I'm gonna leave it alone because that's in another book, but he's interested in plugs and light switches and it's just it's so amazing.
But But Molly, see, you brought it up. I'm not going to talk about the other book, but this is another plot hole issue for me. This is another thing for me. They live and exist in both the wizarding world and the muggle world. They have to know how. He's the fucking person in charge of the muggle shit. Like, how does he not fucking know how it works? If you don't fucking know how it works, how do you decide somebody used it inappropriately?
Since we're going along with that, okay,
we're gonna kill someone's eardrum.
So, there's also this thing in the fandom that says that before the Muggleborn, like, anybody that's half-blood or Muggleborn, like Hermione, were brought to Hogwarts, there was no lavatories, they had to add them. So, now let's think about that for a second. They were just doing their business, waving a wand and evaporating it, and then just moving on. Like, indoor plumbing wasn't a thing yet to them. Even though it was in Muggle worlds.
Okay, but at what point did that change? Because Dumbledore is a half-blood.
Right.
And he's from, like, fucking 100 fucking years ago. I don't know.
But it was a thing. Wait, let's get back to Chamber of Secrets because we're 40 minutes in.
I'm sorry, friends. This is going to be a long one.
I'm not, but you guys signed up for this. You asked for this.
They asked for it. They literally asked for it this time.
You get what you get, and you don't throw a fit.
Right.
When they go shopping for school supplies, we see several things happening. Let's talk about it. Harry goes to the wrong store. He ends up using the Flu Network and goes to the wrong store and overhears the Malfoys fucking plotting. We learned Dumbledore has picked another fucking terrible teacher for Defense Against the Dark Arts. And Arthur gets into a fist fight with Lucius Malfoy. It's a lot fucking in this chapter, right? A lot going on in this chapter. What did you think about all this?
Okay, so Arthur's the kind of man you marry. Like, he will defend his family to the end. That guy was obviously bigger and stronger and, like, better wizarder than him, and he was like, fuck you, dude! It's on!
It's like watching Matthew Biggs get into a fight.
I love it. It's like Thomas, too. Like, if someone comes at one of the three of us, like, you don't. 'Cause he will destroy you. I gotta say, again, Dumbledore is incompetent. Why has someone left him in charge? This is a bad idea. I don't understand why Snape can't ever be the dark arts. Like, why he keeps passing him up. It's not like he's going to become
a good potions teacher. He's just an asshole. He's a great potions teacher, and he needs to know. He needs to embrace his strengths, and that is where he's strong. He's not going to be dick.
He's not going to become like more of a Death Eater. Like, you can't be Death Eater. Like, I'm more Death Eater now. Like, that's not going to happen. And also, like, he entrusted Snape to, like, basically not be a Death Eater anymore. And if that's the case, then he probably would be the most competent person to teach defense against the dark arts.
He's just so mean.
I mean, can argue that he's probably the best at potions. And, I mean, that'll come in another book. But he's a dick.
Dick.
But I have to say, I actually really like Gilderoy Lockhart.
Okay, that's my next question.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
So let's talk about him, okay?
Yes.
Off the jump, our first class in Hogwarts. Let's talk off of the jump. First class at Hogwarts it's apparent he should not be there or teaching. Right? Like he sets these Cornish pixies off, fucking, and just leaves the kids and says, fuck this shit, and you guys figure it out. What the hell, dude, right? And then as it keeps going on, he, like, debones Harry. He just keeps fucking shit up. The longer he's there, the worse he makes life, right? Yeah. Do you think what happened to him in the end of this book was self-inflicted? Like, he had this a long time coming.
Right. So I like him. I like Gilderoy Lockhart. I like him to be this comedic side of the wizarding world. I like that we learned that, like, Molly Weasley has a little wizard crush on him. Like, I like that, like, he's the hottie in the world.
Jason Momoa, right?
Yeah, that's a good
He's
one.
Jason fucking Momoa, right?
Yeah,
All the women go, "Ooh."
Please don't ever do that again.
And Tom's gonna sample it for the fucking reel.
You brought that on yourself, Molly Biggs. Brilliantly played in the movie by Kenneth Branagh.
Who's a great director.
Chef's kiss.
Good
Chef's kiss with
actor.
that. He absolutely got what he deserved. I honestly think, like, I saw it coming. Like, I knew something bad was going to happen to him. And
He's
that was
trash human being.
Right. I knew that was coming, but I think, like, maybe kids might not have seen that. Maybe not have seen that coming. But here is a controversial take on Chamber of Secrets.
Okay.
This book is the only book in the entire series that consistently sticks to one plot. And in my opinion,
that's true.
And in my opinion, that actually makes it the best book. It's not my favorite of them. Okay. I don't have a favorite book. I have a favorite two halves of a book. But arguably, this is the best written of the series. And I know that's controversial because most people do not like Chamber of Secrets, but that's my take on it.
I find the storyline to be dragging, right?
How? It's short. Like, it's one of the shortest books, Molly.
I don't know. I struggle with this book every time. Anytime I go do a reread, I struggle with this book.
You know, I know a lot of people that say that. A lot of people tell me they just skip this one.
Yeah, I skipped the movie too. The movie's funny and it's got some great parts, but it feels like it feels like a wipe away in the series. I
disagree.
That's okay. We're allowed to do that. In this series, in this book, we learn that Harry speaks Parseltongue. We don't just have. We learned in book 1 Harry speaks Parseltongue. We just didn't have a name for it till this book. Right. It is one of the many hints J.K. Rowling gives us that he is connected to Voldemort. What do you think of these breadcrumbs throughout the books?
So it makes sense that they would have a connection. It's sort of like the light and dark thing. It's the Vader and Luke thing, right? Mm-hmm. I know that Voldemort is not actually daddy, but right. Like it's a similar connection. But I don't actually believe for a second that J.K. Rowling knew where the fuck she was going. And so I don't know that these were breadcrumbs so much as they are like, oh, now that we know. It's sort of like the Nostradamus. You know who Nostradamus is? Okay. It's sort of like we can decipher his quatrains after shit has happened, which is like not a good way to be a
not how any of this works.
Predicts the future. That's not how that works. That's how I feel about J.K. Rowling's writing. Like, you can make arguments that Stephenie Meyer wrote a lot of plot holes in a Twilight, but she knew where she was fucking going with the story.
Right.
So, there you go. I might need a new bell from Katie when this episode's over.
She's just going to start eating it. Ring against the wall! So let's talk about Tom Riddle's diary. It's a powerful source of magic. Mm-hmm. It controls Ginny, and it's a major plot point in this book. Mm-hmm. What did you think about it being a major force in the storyline and pushing the plot forward?
I don't think it did. I don't think this was the best way to introduce Ginny. I know that was a chance to make her more of a character since she's now at the school, but
I feel like it was a fucked up way to give this girl her first year at Hogwarts, man.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what we know about Ginny as the series goes on, I 100% do not think she would have fallen for this. She is not the kind of girl to be like weeping in her diary. That's Hermione's place.
Right.
And it would have made more sense to me if it were Hermione that had this issue. But, then we wouldn't have gotten my favorite line of the whole series, when in doubt, go to the library.
Right.
Because I know she doesn't say that. I realize Ron says that, but that's what Hermione does, right? When in doubt, go to the library. So, again, I guess it connected more to the story when Harry had the diary again, but I don't know. I thought it was ridiculous.
Right. I wish we would have pointed out that it was a Horcrux from the beginning.
I don't think she knew where she was going.
Right. Right. I don't know. I have issues with it. It feels like you're telling me that 14-year-old Tom Riddle knew that he was going to split himself up into a bunch of fucking pieces and turn into this dark wizard? I highly doubt it.
Immediately no.
Immediately no.
Immediately no.
Okay, so let's talk Dobby the House Elf, okay? He's the servant to the Malfoys, and he risks his life protect Harry. Which actually becomes a major pain in the ass for Harry throughout the damn book. What did you think about him and his storyline in this book? Just this book.
I do not understand why so many people like Dobby. He's kind of a dick.
It's obnoxious.
I'm obnoxious?
No, it's obnoxious. He's obnoxious.
Oh, yeah. I thought you were saying that what I said was obnoxious. I was like, no, it's facts. No, he's kind of a dick. Like, I don't get it. Everybody, like, talks about how great Dobby is. No.
I like him later in the series. I like his peaks in later books. But, one, I don't understand his driving force. When we have a character that's risking their life, we usually get a driving force, right? Some sort of reasoning.
Yeah.
I got zero reasoning out of this, right?
No reason.
No reason. It makes no sense. And
none whatsoever.
What? Because Harry's a good human being, like a good wizard, you're just gonna fucking risk getting killed by your owners and beat to death? That makes zero sense.
No. I don't get it.
So favorite part of the book, least favorite part of the book.
Well, I've already told you that, like, to be honest, I think this is the best written of the series. Right. So there's that. It's the story itself is not as good as, like, some of the other books, but, like, it's best written. My favorite part, of course, is because that's what Hermione does, said Ron, shrugging. When in doubt, go to the library.
It's a great line.
And as a librarian, like, I approve of that. And also, I didn't realize till I read this book, that it wasn't Hermione that said it, because a lot of, like, swag that you see that says, when in doubt, go to the library, it quotes Hermione. But it's actually Ron that said it, which to me was actually better.
It shows that he knows her, even though he doesn't want to.
That boy noticed her from the day she walked onto the train and had the big hair and was looking for Neville's frog. He was like, yes.
That girl's super obnoxious, but I'm going to marry her one day.
That's what facts. And by the way,
that has been said about me. Thank you very much.
By the way, Hermione is annoying. She's really annoying.
Facts. So let's talk movie versus book.
Okay.
One thing that really bothers me in the series is Hermione in the movie. Hermione fixes Harry's glasses, like, off the get.
Like, she can just do that.
Right. Mr. Weasley does that. Mr. Weasley teaches them reparo. Like,
yeah. By the way, why is just making a word sound Latin, like, it'll like just do the spell, but somehow these kids have to spend six fucking years learning how to say those words. But they never take
what is it?
But they never take a fucking Latin class.
But have Muggle studies.
Muggle studies! And Hermione takes it! You are a fucking Muggle-born! Oh my gosh.
We all like easy A's. The movie also omits the Weasley, Arthur and fucking the Malfoy fighting, which in the bookstore, that was hilarious. It would have been beautiful to see that on screen. It also, the movies never tell us, which the book does, Filch is a squib.
Yeah, Filch is a squib.
And I think that's a driving force into why he's so angry. Like, I think that's important for...
Does the movie never tell us that?
No.
Is there not, like, in that book, in that book, it's written on the wall, Filch is a squib or something like that. That doesn't happen in the movie?
Nope.
Huh. Well, yeah.
And
no, I'll say that when we get to that book.
And my favorite part of this book was the death day party for nearly headless Nick.
That was the only part that I was like, this is not for the plot. This is off the plot. Like,
it was beautiful. It was so sweet. And like,
oh, it was gross.
It's supposed to be. But I'm sad that was left out. I'm going to go on a tirade. I forgot to mention it in the first book, in the first thing. Peeves is omitted from this whole series.
Yeah, why? He's like an important character.
I feel like he's sub storylines, right? He's there just to make mischief and trouble. He never really helps drive the storyline. He's just a fun comic relief, and I think that's why he's omitted from the movie.
But that's not true. He drives the storyline in 2 different books. In whatever book the twins like blow everything up, Peeves helps them.
Oh, that's with Umbridge. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So Peeves helps them.
That's true.
And then in Deathly Hallows, like McGonagall's literally like, go get fucking Peeves, like let's make this shit happen.
Yes. That's true. That's true. Okay. It's just, I think that Christopher Columbus and the production team looked at their characters and were like, okay, we can only do so much on film.
Well, I think that, and also when the movie was being made, the first movie was being made in the early 2000s, CGI wasn't what it is now.
No.
And that would have been another character that had to be completely
Peeves isn't a ghost. He's a poltergeist. Right? So he has color. He's not grayscale. Right. Like, it's different.
Right. It would have been difficult. Could have been a budget reason that they cut it.
So we're getting right into Prisoner of Azkaban now.
Prisoner of Azkaban.
I love this book.
Book 3.
Lot to go over in this book. There's like dogs and werewolves, and my favorite creature, Buckbeak. I fucking want a pet hippogriff now because of this book, right? Like,
yeah, he's pretty great.
So we always start each summer with we start in the summer with Harry, right? We get to see Ron attempt to make a phone call, and he's like yelling and into the phone. We get one of our classic Ron line in this book when he's writing Harry letters. Don't let the Muggles get you down.
Is this also the book that the Dursleys get an envelope? Or no, not sorry. Nope. The Weasleys send him an envelope that has like a bazillion.
Oh, that's the Quidditch World Cup. We'll get to that.
Okay, sorry. My
bad. And then we meet Aunt Marge for the first time. This is Mr. Dursley's sister, and she's sadly a worse human being than her brother. Like, she's a trash can human.
That bitch.
I mean, Harry had every right to blow her up, I think. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, 100%. I honestly hate the Dursleys. Like, honestly, I could have done without them. Like, they were unnecessary part of all the books.
Mm-hmm.
Like, end of story.
And so then he runs away, right? And this is when we get something that's iconic in the Hogwarts world, Harry Potter world, the night bus.
Mm-hmm.
This purple double-decker filled with beds night bus. Right. Harry tells him he's fucking Neville.
Which is nonsense. How does Harry Potter get away with being disguised, like pretending to be anybody else? No.
He brushes
immediately.
No, brush the bangs over.
It doesn't matter because people know it just seems like everybody in the wizarding world knows all the stories. Not just who Harry is, but they would know who Neville was too, because his parents were two of the people who were literally tortured by
Bellatrix Lestrange.
Bellatrix. So like no.
So did you enjoy this whole scene? This whole chapter where like he's leaving and the night bus, and then he's met by the freaking Minister of Magic when he gets to the Three Broomsticks? Like, what did you think of all this?
It's all nonsense. I knew that when we were seeing like a shadow or we kept seeing a dog or something, like I knew that was going to be a thing.
Mm-hmm.
I really thought that the dog was Lupin. But whatever. I don't know. I guess because it's an iconic part to the fans, but I'm not a fan. So to me, I don't really care about the Night Bus. I think the Minister of Magic, doesn't matter which minister it is, they're just going to pop up to like get Harry to like, be on their side.
He's a star. It's like when the president calls Kim Kardashian. Like,
the president calls Kim Kardashian?
Trump used to call her and Kanye all the time.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Why?
Fuck if I know. Why would JFK call freaking movie stars all the time when he was in the White House?
Because he was banging them?
That's true. But what I'm saying is power and fame sometimes go hand in hand.
Of all the famous people that Donald Trump could call,
he called Kanye West and Kim Kardashian. Anyway, not the point. So Harry's staying at Three Broomsticks. He's allowed to go down to Diagon Alley whenever he wants. He's 13 years old and has a massive amount of money. And J.K. Rowling's trying to convince us that a 13-year-old's not just going to be spending whatever he fucking wants and buying that damn broom. I have a hard time believing that he wouldn't spend this money. I've never met a 13-year-old boy with that kind of self-control. You?
Well, I feel like if you grow up poor, you end up on two sides. You either end up being incredibly frugal because you've never had before, or you be incredibly frivolous and you just buy.
Right.
Despite the fact that Harry Potter is like he's not a great main character in my opinion.
Right.
He does seem to have a good head on his shoulder. No, he doesn't. He's a fucking Listen, Dumbledore is a terrible guardian, and nobody is responsible for Harry's money, so except for apparently the goblins that guard it. So I don't know.
Fucking goblins, man. It's just, I don't know. I just really don't see a 13-year-old having that much self-control not to buy themselves a new broomstick. I just don't see it.
Well, J.K. Rowling was writing these books for her kids, so maybe she gave Harry self-control.
Because she wanted her kids to have self-control?
Right. It's possible.
Another year and another Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher. Dumbledore finally finds someone who is competent. However, there's a small catch. Remus Lupin is a werewolf.
Mm-hmm.
Did you think this was a problem, or do you agree with Harry, Ron, and Hermione that it's not a big deal?
I think there are several species in this book that are like a part of the wizarding or magical world. They're not really wizarding world. They're part of the magical world.
Yes.
And they're discriminated against.
The giants, for example.
And the goblins, for that matter, too. Remus is a character I really like. I like him from Jump. I think he was a fantastic teacher, a good man. He's an all-around good guy. I don't think it should matter. I mean, they literally let a fucking Death Eater work there. Why is it okay for Severus to be on staff, but we can't let the
former Death Eater? Former.
What the fuck ever? He's still a Death Eater. He's still got the fucking tattoo.
Right. That's true, he does.
At one point, they let... What's the fucking horsemen thing that they let work there?
Cestial?
Yeah, so if they're going to let...
Centaur, sorry.
Centaur. If they're going to let fucking centaurs teach there, what the fuck difference does it make if it's a werewolf? Right. The centaurs were dicks. The werewolf wasn't doing anything bad. I mean, not that all werewolves were good, but Lupin wasn't bad.
Poor Lupin. Listen,
he had his monthly and he had to handle it. It's fine.
I mean, we all do, and you don't see us.
Right? Bitches got to handle their monthly. What are you going to do?
Also teaching this year is Hagrid's in Care of the Magical Creatures.
He's a terrible teacher.
I personally love Buckbeak. It is one of my favorite adds to the series. I love magical creatures. I enjoy, I like the newer stuff with Newt Scamander because I love all the magical creatures that have been created for this world. What did you think about Hagrid as a teacher?
He's a terrible teacher.
Shouldn't have told you that.
What?
Hagrid's line. Oh. Shouldn't have told you that.
And here's another argument for why they should just let Lupin teach. Hagrid's not even allowed to be he's not even allowed to do magic. Like, he's forbidden from being a wizard. But let's let him fucking teach. Fine, no big deal. It's just magic school. Like, the worst. I think magical creatures, like, that would have been a class I would have enjoyed, but not with him as a teacher.
I feel like I would be with Harry, Ron, and Hermione and my little Hufflepuff gang, and I would be doing what Harry, Ron, and Hermione are doing, trying to help the other kids get involved, wanting to protect Hagrid, wanting to keep Hagrid's ego safe, because I'd worry about him. I'd feel bad. Poor Hagrid.
In this book, my favorite class that's taught is definitely Defense Against the Dark Arts.
Oh, Lupin is fantastic.
Yeah, and even though Severus is like awful and just an asshole, like, potions is probably my favorite class at Hogwarts. Actually, the class I wanted more information about was arithmecy, because it seems like that's like the math of magic, and like that fascinates my brain. Like, and again, that's the Ravenclaw in me. Like, I'm like, ooh, we can learn about like the math of magic. Like, I don't like math, but the math of magic sounds awesome.
I also love the history of magic and how the teacher literally died, woke up as a ghost, and came back to class the next day.
See, they've got a ghost teaching. They've got it, and they won't. Why don't they want a werewolf? He's such a good guy, and it's not his fault. He was essentially like
he was attacked as a child
by basically a werewolf pedophile.
Yep. So since we're talking about Lupin,
he's got trauma. It's fine.
We learned in this book that Lupin and Black were both very close with the Potters up till her death. Black is in Azkaban, and Lupin is doing whatever werewolves do. I have a hard time, however, believing that someone who was so close to Harry's parents has kept their distance and never mentioned it to him or met him till this book. I personally would have been trying to help take care of my best friend's kids. And yeah. I feel like this is a Dumbledore thing.
And let's be honest, not just your best friend's kids, your boyfriend's godson, because we all know Sirius and Lupin.
Yes, we're a thing for sure, 100% sure. Why would Black choose his animagus to be a wolf if he didn't want to be just like Lupin? Like, Harry's.
I mean, he's a dog. Yes.
Wolf, dog, same species line. Harry's dad chooses to be a stag, and fucking Peter Pettigrew becomes a fucking mouse or a rat or whatever. Like, you can pick any animal on the planet, and you're like, you know what I want to be? I want to be just like the guy I love. That's what, you know what I mean? And I just...
But he doesn't raise his godson? Come on, get your shit.
It feels... But feels like somebody else was meddling.
But here's from me. And this is one of the things that I texted you about several times as I was reading this series. It doesn't make sense to me that the Weasleys never talk about knowing the Potters. I understand, and we find out as time goes on, the timelines are never explained in these books. I had to actually
vague. JK keeping it purposely vague because she doesn't know how to work out the timeline errors.
But she doesn't, because she's terrible. So the only reason that I know how old Molly and Arthur are and when they actually went to school is because I had to do some digging to find out more about Molly Weasley.
Sleuthing.
But, yeah, right. But there's no reason why she wouldn't know the Potters, because at the very least, if you make the argument that she was not a part of the original Order of the Phoenix, she was at least, her brothers were.
Right.
So she would have fucking known them!
I know.
And it's not like she didn't have a brood of children that you could hide Harry in. Like, it'd have been fine. Like, come on!
You have magic. fucking wizard his hair to be orange. Like, make him a Weasley.
And they did that in one book.
I know. So let's move on.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Plot hole.
For you. There you go. Another new professor. We meet Professor Trulani for the first time in this book. She seems batty and gives warnings. Some comes true and some do not. What did you think of this character? And do you think she was a good add to the series and the world in general?
She's a good example of why Dumbledore should not be in charge of things.
He's not allowed to adults.
She gets one prediction right.
The Grim!
She gets one prediction right in her entire career, and he's like, "You're fucking hired." And then she gets
second one, he's like,
"She's second one." He's like, "Probably should give her a raise now. She's hit her second one." No. Not a good addition. I love that Hermione stands up to her and is like, "Fuck you. This is dumb.
Bullshit. This is wild."
But absolutely love that Emma
Watson?
Not Watson. Who plays her in the movie? Emma. Oh my gosh, she's one of my favorite actresses, and I'm mad at myself right now.
Emma Thompson.
Fuck. Yes, Emma Thompson. I love Emma Thompson as her. She's fantastic.
She nails the role. I mean, it is Professor Trelawney coming off the pages into the book. And yeah. I think it is one of the most consistent characters from book to screen.
Hers and Bellatrix.
Yep. They are very consistent.
Emma Thompson is quite a chameleon, or as Ted Mosby would say, a chameleon.
I want
to
bring up one more thing, and I didn't write this question down. I just actually had it.
Okay, do it.
So,
hit me.
Trelawney ends up getting a following of little students, right? Like Lavender Brown and like Barty Patil are like, ooh, right? They're all, and it made me remember there was always that one teacher in school that the kids were like super obsessed with. And my middle school, it was our history teacher.
Yeah.
And then in high school, we had a math teacher everyone fucking loved. Did you have this kind of experience? Did you see this?
In high school, it was probably my chemistry teacher. Like, we all liked her so much that we took AP Chem so we could have her 2 years in a row.
That's awesome.
She was pretty great. Also, the physics teacher was pretty awesome, too. At the high school where I taught, it was me.
Nice.
Not the first high school I taught, but like the second high school I taught, I was like
the performing arts one.
No, that was the first one.
Oh, the one in Pasadena.
No,
I'm just guessing now. I'm gonna shut up.
I taught in two different high schools in Florida.
Oh,
same district, different high schools, and so I had a little bit of a following, which was weird to me because I was never unpopular in high school. Like, why would you want to hang out with me? Like, it's weird.
Because,
but also I was really young. Like, I started teaching, I was 22.
Yeah,
so
that is young.
But I can see this totally happening. Like, she's the weird new agey teacher. She's going to attract the weird new agey kids. Even in the wizarding community, there's weird kids.
I feel like she wouldn't even realize it. They would just be sitting in her classroom and she'd be like, "Oh, you guys are here."
No, I feel like she would like eat that shit up. She'd be like, "Yeah, let me tell you about what else I predict for Harry Potter's life. Here we go, bitches."
Let's move on to the Mortar's map.
Is that how you say it? I thought it was
I say it wrong, I think.
I thought it was Marauders.
Anyways, I don't fucking know.
Marauders.
Wormtail, James and that whole crew. We learn about their past in this book. Mostly James and his friend, and only from their POV, right? We get it from we get it from Sirius's and Lupin's point of view. We don't get it from anyone else's. Right. And then we learn about the map, which the twins give to Harry for a Christmas present.
Right.
And we learn about them how they become animagus to help their friends. Do you think this is the reason he thinks his father saves him? And do you think this is the reason his Patronus is a stag? Like, because he's getting all this information from the past and it just kind of floods him?
I think it makes sense that his dad would still be a part of his life. He feels this deep connection to a person he never knew. So it makes sense that his...
Well, because he looks like James, but except for the eyes. He's got his mother's eyes.
Yeah. I guess I just don't understand enough about the wizarding world that JK has quote unquote created. And I use that loosely because I don't think
I'm just gonna go on a screen and laugh for a second.
But I don't understand how you become animagus. I don't understand how you... It seemed like that was something that was rare. I mean, I seem to remember that McGonagall actually said it was rare to be
you have to register and but I guess people
you
do it on
just I don't think you can just do it, right? Like
you have to practice and train for it.
And 3 of them were able to do it.
Yeah. Even Peter Pettigrew, who is a slimy little fucker, you're telling me it makes sense. I mean, okay, we're going to get into that. Reader Skeeter is one. But anyways, that's the next book.
But since you've brought up Peter, and I know it's not one of your questions, so you're
welcome to talk, though.
Plot hole, friends.
Down the rabbit hole with April.
Are you really fucking telling me? Are you really fucking telling me that Peter Pettigrew has not only been living as a rat since Harry's parents died, but the Weasleys have just been passing him around as the family pet? And he's just just living his rat life as the Weasleys. No. It was not necessary to the story. It was stupid.
So let's add to that spiral. The twins had that map for years. This is their 3rd year.
Right.
The twins saw that a person named Peter Pettigrew was sleeping in Ron's bed with him.
In Ron's bed.
And nobody ever fucking said anything?
Look, I think that they were probably like, word. Ron,
good for you, little
going on in your bedroom is what you got going on in your bedroom, little brother. We don't need to out you to mom, but damn. You be sleeping with that boy every night.
Anyways. Yes, plot hole. Problematic. Yes.
That's why when so many people say that this is their favorite book, I'm always like, why?
I enjoy the series. I'm not saying it's my favorite series.
This is your favorite book in the series?
No, my favorite book in the series is Goblet of Fire.
Okay. Yeah.
This book introduces us to time travel for the first time in the wizarding world.
In the most ridiculous way.
And we learned that Hermione has had access to it the whole time with this damn time turner. I think this is poor adulting on Dumbledore's part. Thoughts?
Everything is poor adulting on Dumbledore's part. All of it. All of it.
This is becoming Why We Hate Dumbledore episode.
Listen, McGonagall took it to Dumbledore to get approval. And this is the one time that I'm like...
McGonagall.
Listen.
We're trusting a 13-year-old girl to time travel respectfully. I mean, if any kid's going to handle...
This is supposed to be really dangerous magic. And we're all of a sudden a second year who is barely able to... Okay, a third year, my bad. A third year who is barely able to ridiculous a,
But she didn't even get a chance to do it.
And Harry's still trying to learn how to do Expectro Patronus, and we're just going to give her a magical timepiece. So much sense. And they're doing it so she can take more school, which she can't, no. Why?
Okay, plot hole issue. She's living a year twice.
Mm-hmm.
Does that mean she's aging faster?
I don't fucking know. I'll tell you who doesn't also know who doesn't know.
J.K. fucking Rowling.
She doesn't know either. You're never getting any answers from her.
All right, let's talk movie versus book. I have a small list. The twins give Harry the map real early, which is bullshit. We know it's around Christmas time. Sir Cadogan has been omitted from the storyline.
I don't remember who that is.
When the fat lady gets attacked by Sirius.
Oh yeah, I know who
in the little night, yeah. The scene where the kids are all sleeping in the Great Hall, that was omitted. We meet Cedric Diggory in this book, and that's never mentioned.
Yeah, well, because they hadn't cast Robert Pattinson yet,
right? and Harry gets his broom for Christmas, not at the end of the book. So that's my few beefs with this movie book.
That one really bothered me a lot. The broomstick. That one bothered me a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, we're an hour and 20 minutes in, so we got to do Goblet of Fire. We're almost done. Thank you, besties, for sticking around. Because
y'all fucking asked for this. I ain't apologizing. For shit. Harry Potter and the Goblet of motherfucking Fire.
You know what? I'm not apologizing for shit in this episode either, because I did the fucking work and hated it, and I still did it. So y'all can just sit there and listen. I mean, I'm sorry. Thank you for listening to us. I really appreciate it.
I'm a knife hand, y'all. Get your shit together. So in Goblet of the Fire.
Oh my gosh, Goblet of Fire.
We have the Triwizard Tournament. We go to the Quidditch World Cup. The fucking Mark shows up. Okay. Each book, as usual, starts with the Dursley. Well, we're at the Dursley house, right? With Harry. And for the summer. Whole fucking surprise. Whoop-de-doo, Basil. However, this book starts us off at the Riddle house. And we go through this whole first chapter, and it's Voldemort and Peter Pettigrew, and we're watching them tell this whole plot, this whole demise of a murder, and then it ends the chapter with Harry waking up. How did you feel about her changing it up and starting the books differently?
I think this is the format she kept moving forward.
Because it's a little bit darker. This book starts off darker than the rest of them.
Yeah, this book is definitely darker. I honestly think this was her, maybe she took a writing class or something and learned how to write better and just decided.
She Googled it.
What the fuck is a preface? What the fuck? And then was like, oh, that's how you write a book. And then was like, okay, well, I'll just put that chapter at the beginning then, and I'll just, write a book the way that people write fucking books. Yeah, that's how I feel about it. Molly's snacking while we're doing this.
It's ice chips because my throat is on fire.
Literally choking.
It's ice chips because my throat's on fire from being sick for so long. We get a lot of time early in this book with the Weasley family. From Molly sending mail with 1 million stamps. Arthur breaks the Dursley fireplace. Arthur breaks the fireplace, and then the twins trick Dudley into eating candy that makes his tongue expand. We finally get to see the whole Weasley family together because they're going to the Quidditch World Cup.
Well, not all of them.
Oh, no. Charlie and Bill were both there.
Charlie and Bill were both there?
At the house.
I didn't remember that Charlie
Yeah, and fucking Percy. He's working, remember? You're disturbing him. Because remember in the garden, Charlie and Percy are fighting the tables while they're setting it up because there's not enough room in the house for all of them to eat?
Clearly, I don't remember that.
Okay. But did you enjoy seeing more of the Weasley family together?
Yes. Anything with the Weasleys makes me happy. I do not give a damn about the Quidditch World Cup. And my biggest issue with this book, and this is one of the things that, I know this is your favorite book, and I think this is Nurse Katie's favorite book too. And so we had a group message about this. My problem with this book is that you could get rid of the whole entire first quarter of the book, first third of the book, And you still have a complete book. Like, the first third of the book is not necessary. It's not necessary to anything that happens. You can make the argument that the Dark Mark showed up. So what? So what? We didn't need that.
I loved it. I loved it.
The whole first third about the Quidditch World Cup is pointless.
Yeah.
It's pointless. The story is the Triwizard Tournament.
It is. But we don't get the plotline moving forward without us meeting Barty Crouch or, any of that crew that runs it, the Triwizard.
You can meet them while they're running the tournament. You don't have to meet them at a completely different fucking tournament for a completely different fucking sport.
We see, we also get to see how the Death Eaters treat Muggles. I think that's important to show how
you already know that. Have you not seen the way that
it's stories though? They're just telling, it's a character telling a character. It's not you physically reading.
No, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about not the fuck's his name, the Slytherin kid.
Draco?
Yeah, you see how Draco treats people.
But he's not physically torturing Muggles. We physically see them torture Muggles at the end of the Quidditch World Cup. We're going to have to move on from our disagreement.
We're going to have to move on from disagreement because we're not going to agree on it.
No. A few things I loved from this time frame. Molly's clock telling us where everybody is.
I would absolutely have one of Molly's clocks.
Same.
100%.
Percy's a dickhead. That's just the statement.
That's facts.
I like port key travel. I find it interesting.
Port key travel doesn't make any sense to me. You just leave a random boot lying around. What if somebody picks it up because they're
Muggles don't pay attention to trash, supposedly.
Yes, they do.
Anyways, and then any wizard trying to wear Muggle clothes, like the guy wearing a kilt and a top hat and like man in a dress, and
my favorite is the old man in the dress who's like, I have to breathe down there.
He's waving it around. Fucking old wizards. We've talked about the World Cup a bit. At the end of World Cup, we get back to celebrations when tragedy hits and a few dark wizards attack the Muggles at their own campground. This sets off a series of events that leads to Harry's wand being used and set up to make the dark mark in the sky. This is vastly different from how it is in the movie. What did you think about the changes, changing this key point in the book to the movie, this transition?
What I actually liked this movie much better than the book because it cut out all the unnecessary part of the Quidditch World Cup.
This is also the first time we hear the word mudblood used in the book.
No, you're wrong about that. And
really?
I fact-checked it. I read your notes and I fact-checked it. It actually is in Chamber of Secrets.
Really?
It's when...
Tom Riddle says it, right?
No. Malfoy actually calls Hermione a mudblood, and she doesn't know what it is. But Ron gets really fucking defensive because he knows what it is. And he ends up getting cursed. His wand backfires and he ends up throwing up all the slugs.
Oh, eat slugs. Slugs. It's the eat slug scene. Yeah.
Yeah. So that actually happens in Chamber of Secrets.
You're right. Okay, this is just a quick note because Ron pisses me off this whole book. This book should have been titled Harry Potter in the Year Ron is an Asshole.
That could also be the title for Deathly Hallows.
Yes. Ron's a dick. And when I said, when I was working on my notes and I said this to Matthew Biggs, he goes, how old were they? And I go, 14. He goes, yep, that's the year I was a dickhead too.
It just occurred to me that Matthew Biggs sort of looks like a grown-up Ron Weasley.
Could you say Charlie Weasley?
Yeah. Yeah. I get it.
You see it now. So let's talk about the Triwizard Tournament, shall we? Excuse me. This is the first time in 200 years it's happened. And so the Ministry has made a new rule that you must be over 17, which in the movie is 16, since kids keep dying.
Yeah, seems like a real good idea to make it come back. Good call.
Especially when the Dark Marcus just appeared.
Definitely a good idea.
Good adulting. 100%. We get a champion from each school, and then Harry gets his name pulled. Are you surprised? Because I wasn't fucking surprised. What a shocker. Poor goddamn Harry Potter is dragged into something he doesn't want to be in.
I mean,
doesn't get a break, man.
Isn't that the overarching plot of, like, the whole fucking series?
Is that Harry Potter never gets a break? Yeah. Harry Potter doesn't get a break.
Harry Potter gets drug into other people's shit because nobody actually tells him the fucking truth.
And I only tabbed one page in all of these books because I need to read something because it is super irritating to me between book and movie, especially since they put this scene in the movie.
I know what you're going to talk about.
On page 276.
Uh-huh.
Did you put your name into the Goblet of Fire, Harry? He asked calmly. Calmly. I don't give a fuck if it's an acting choice. Dumbledore is not an angry man. Out of all the things in this world, Dumbledore is not an angry man. So for him to randomly just start storming Harry and start screaming at him, I am fucking beef.
I will send you the link to post this. There is an Instagrammer, TikToker. Her handle is Chan Wills.
Oh, I love her. She does the McGonagall.
She does the McGonagall things.
Stories for this episode.
There's and there's one that she does where she like calls for Miss Norris.
Yeah.
Who's a fucking cat, by the way, if you don't know the series. She's a cat.
Mrs. Norris, yeah.
And Mrs. Norris and McGonagall like have a conversation in a box because that's what cats do. And McGonagall turns into a cat. And she's talking about the Triwizarding Tournament and how Dumbledore had to go all crazy mad when he could have just calmly said it. And like, as much as I am not a fan of this series, Chan Wills, her Instagram, TikTok page,
she's fucking amazing. Hilarious.
She's so funny. She cosplays as McGonagall, and it's just hilarious.
Her voice is spectacular. She gets Maggie's.
So perfectly.
Oh, perfect. Chef's kiss, right? Is what you say.
Chef's kiss. Go follow us on Instagram and TikTok, and then follow Chan Wills because she's fantastic.
Chef's kiss.
Chef's kiss.
So another year, another defensive against dark arts teacher, huh?
Yeah.
What did you think of Mad-Eye Moody, but it's Barty Crouch Jr., but Mad-Eye Moody?
I honestly was surprised that it was a bad guy. That Mad-Eye, because he was like a good teacher. He was a good teacher.
He was honest with the kids. He's like, look, the ministry doesn't want you guys to know this information, but I think you need to know since the Dark Lord's coming back.
He stands up for Harry a lot. I really liked him. And after I read this book, my immediate thought was, okay, so basically what I need to do is just always assume that whoever the defense part against the dark arts teacher is a bad guy.
Yeah.
Like, I understand Lupin isn't technically a bad guy, but he's like a fucking werewolf. So.
But he's villainized by others, right?
Right.
One way or another, they're villainized. Yeah.
Right. It's like watching an episode of Scooby-Doo and they unmask and it was the caretaker all along. Every book of Harry Potter is like, it was the defense against the dark arts teacher all along.
Mm-hmm. It's just, I like Moody. And then you learn it's Barty Crouch and you're like, oh, I like the bad guy. Also, Barty Crouch Jr. is played by my favorite doctor of the whole Doctor Who series.
Not my favorite doctor, but David Tennant, yeah. But, okay, here's should I save it until we start talking about the book?
Which book?
The movie, excuse me.
Oh, yeah, let's save it to talking about the movie. I'm almost there. Okay. We
should be fucking there.
We're almost there. We're so close. We meet Winky the House Elf this book.
Who fucking cares? I keep picturing Winky like the Gremlins movie with the one that's a girl and drag.
There's a lot of fan art. I'll have to send you the picture and I'll put it in our stories. The fan art.
I just picture Winky like chain smoking and like
Winky's
wearing
drunk.
trashy
She's like,
clothes and like she's drunk.
Poor Winky.
She looks like she should be working a street corner. Like it's a mess.
And we get the invention of spew.
Dumb.
Did you like this extra storyline?
No, I don't.
I have an issue with.
I don't care about the House Elves. I think Hermione is so extra, and even though she was being ridiculous and extra, like Ron and Harry were not being good friends to her either.
No,
like
I understand
support your friend.
I understand why they created this. She created the storyline so that Hermione had this storyline, especially since this is such a heavy Ron Harry book, right? Mm-hmm. And I get it. I like the House Elf storyline. I like having the House Elves involved. I think I like them. I like Dobby's storyline. I like his raise up. I don't understand his origins on why he would even get fucking involved in this shit, but I like it. I just feel like with so much that was already going on in this book, it's just exhausting. Necessary. It's exhausting.
Exactly. That's how I felt reading all the books.
So we're almost done. I swear. The death of Cedric Diggory is one of the hardest for the fan base. Mm-hmm. Can you see why? Do you think this really affects the storyline from here on out?
So I knew this was coming because I had seen like screenshots of Robert Pattinson like dead.
Yeah.
So I knew that was coming.
Like there's a thing where he's like holding his wand and he's like this and Harry's on top of him and they're sobbing. Yeah. The scene's really traumatic in the movie.
I always thought it was from like a Quidditch accident because that just like made sense. Like who the fuck lets kids fly around on brooms throwing quaffles at each other? Like it's a bad idea. But I feel like this death.
Sorry, they're just throwing fucking medicine balls at each other in the sky, going like 25 miles an hour.
It's a great idea. It's a great idea. But the death of Cedric, I think, is what really pushes this series from a children's series into a YA series.
It makes it dark. It does.
It really does. And I actually liked that. And I think that's one of the reasons why people say that they prefer Prisoner of Azkaban and this book as their favorite books, because I think that was the growth. And there are so many adults.
The maturity.
Right, there are so many adults that read this series that when it kind of became like a grown-up series, like a more grown-up series. I think it was really dark. I think it was great. I loved how wonderfully and brutally violent it was in the book.
Truthful and honest.
They really cut that down a lot for the movie, probably to keep the rating down. Yeah. But it was
in time, I would assume. They cut the tasks shorter and they changed a lot of the storyline in the movie.
Well, it was really gory in the book, but honestly, it was really well written there at the end. And I think it was cool that he got to see his parents coming back at that point from his wand.
He kind of needed it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I did like that.
It changes Harry.
Mm-hmm.
The death of Cedric. I mean, he saw death, but he was a newborn. Mm-hmm. He watched his godfather die. He's seen, but Cedric, who grew to become his friend by the end of this book, who's someone they're right there at the cup and they decide they're going to win it together. And then just his life, the bottom of the room just drops out on them and fucking the world changes. And that tragedy really changed him.
I think it
truly changed Harry as a character.
I agree. And I think Prisoner of Azkaban was the first time that I was really like thinking to myself, like, why the fuck doesn't Dumbledore just tell him all the shit at one time? Like, here's
because he's a trash human being. Fucking Dumbledore.
When Cedric dies in Goblet of Fire, I think that's the point when Harry feels like that. That he, for the first time, feels like, okay, I need to know what the fuck is going on. Because, like, this is not cool. Like, my friend just died. A good guy just died. A guy that should have beaten everyone else in the tournament.
Who's obviously more talented than the rest of us.
Right. A guy that deserves it. He died, and I almost lost my life. And, like, Peter Pettigrew lost a fucking arm. Like,
have you seen
we need to talk about this.
Have you seen the TikToks where they're like, oh, death, Hogwarts ban, like... I'll have to show it to you. Because at the end, like, it's just, anyways.
So let's talk about the movie.
So book versus movie. How Harry gets the gillyweed is not.
It was a really weird. It was really weird how much they diminished Neville's like involvement in the movies, and then had him do that.
Right. It was actually Dobby.
Right.
Ludo Bagman is missing from the whole fucking movie, which he owes the twins money. It's a whole thing. It's a good storyline.
I don't think it was a good storyline because I don't care about the fucking Quidditch World Cup, and so to me that was fine that they cut him.
Beauxbaton and Dumbstring are portrayed as single gender schools, right?
And that's not the way it is.
That's not the case, right?
I know.
And then
dumb.
The one thing that bothered me the most.
You know why that bothers me, Molly? Because they basically make it seem like the only way a woman could have been in the Triwizard tournament
she wasn't competing against she wasn't competing against men.
Yeah. So, like, a woman couldn't be included unless she was at an all-girls school.
They make Fleur less badass in the movie, too.
They really do.
Rita Skeeter, they never talk about her storyline in the movie, about how the reason she's getting all these scoops is because she's a fucking an unregistered animagus as a fly.
She's a bug.
And fucking Hermione catches her. It is spectacular. And then the final thing, the thing that shows to me in the book that Harry really is struggling with what happened is on the train, on the way back from home from Hogwarts, he gives his winnings, because he doesn't feel like he deserves them, to the twins to start Weasley's, their...
Wizarding, whatever the fucks.
I'll look it up real quick. But, like, this really shows how much guilt Harry feels.
Right. Yeah.
Weasley's Whimsical World.
Yeah,
does that sound right?
I don't know. Who cares? We're almost at 2 hours. Fuck it. My biggest issue with the movie was that it gave away the whole reveal about Barty being Mad Eye.
Yeah.
Because I thought to myself that I knew David Tennant was Barty, but like I kept waiting for him to be in more of the movie because he was like,
because he's fucking David Tennant and he's talented. Yeah,
right. But I was disappointed that they give away from the beginning that Barty Crouch Jr. is a bad guy.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. That's it, gang.
Man, we made it to an hour and 45 minutes. Thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah, we appreciate it. I'm sure some stuff will be cut out by Tom. My coughing fit.
He's not going to cut much, though. I don't think it'll be cut time. Anyway, fuck it. We're moving on. All right, so next week,
I'd grab the books, but they're fucking heavy. We are doing 5 through 7 in the series. We will talk about how the series starts getting darker from here on out. We start seeing a change. We'll hear more about how much April hates this.
Yeah.
And we'll argue some more about my status.
And then, probably. And then we'll go, the following week will be Eliza and Her Monsters by Francesca Zappia. And this cover, just gorge. So that's what we've got coming up. And we'll end the year with City of Girls.
Yay!
So that's it.
We've had fun. I think you guys are going to really like next episode. And we'll see you guys next time.
Yep.
Bye! Thank you for joining us on Book Besties. Don't forget to like and subscribe. The views discussed here are those of Molly and April, not those of anyone else. Today we discuss the Harry Potter series, books 1 through 4 by J.K. Rowling. Your Book Besties are Molly Biggs and April Watkins. Editing by Thomas Watkins. And music is Sleep Sweetly by Brigida. Don't forget to follow Book Besties on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube. If you'd like to contact the Book Besties, please email us at bookbestiespod@gmail.com.